Picture this. A caveman kneels in the dirt. He holds a single bone between two fingers. His friend crouches across from him, gripping a spear he might not get to use tonight. The bone leaves his hand. It spins once, twice, it lands. And somewhere in that spinning bone, this theory says, your entire species would learn how to feel alive. This theory suggests gambling wouldn't begin as entertainment. It would begin as the first machine humans ever built to decide who lives and who doesn't. Ancient tribes would face a brutal daily math problem. Someone has to hunt the animal that kills people. Someone has to guard the fire through the coldest, darkest hours. Someone has to walk into the cave where the growling doesn't stop. Nobody wants to volunteer for that. So instead of choosing, they would roll. The bones wouldn't be toys. They would be judges with no face and no mercy. A roll would remove the guilt of choosing. Nobody could blame the man who lost the hunt duty. Chance would blame itself. This theory claims that trick, letting randomness make the unbearable decision, would become one of the earliest social technologies humans ever invented. Older than kings, older than courts, older than blame itself. Here's where the theory turns strange. This constant exposure to high-stakes chance would physically reshape the human brain. Every time a caveman rolled that bone and lived, his brain would flood with dopamine, the chemical that rewards surviving something you shouldn't have survived. Lose the roll, and you might die. Win the roll, and your brain would light up like you outran a predator barefoot. That feeling wouldn't fade after one generation. It would get carved into the reward circuitry passed down to you. Which means, according to this theory, you were never born loving risk. You inherited it. Every time you feel your stomach drop watching a roulette wheel spin, or your palms sweat waiting on a scratch ticket, some ancient part of your brain would believe, just for a second, that your life is actually on the line. Your body wouldn't know the difference between a $50 bet and a life or death lottery held around a fire 40,000 years ago. To your nervous system, both are the same event. Think about how strange that is. You sit in a padded chair, cards sliding across a felt table, and some primal circuit in your skull would still whisper that losing this hand costs you something vital. Nothing vital is actually at stake. But your ancestors never got the memo that the danger ended. Why would they? For nearly all of human history, chance and death would walk side by side, hand in hand, step for step, day after day. This theory pushes further. Gambling wouldn't just decide who takes a risk. It would decide the tribe's entire social order. Win enough rolls and you would gain a reputation as someone the universe favors. Lose too many, and the group might start to see you as cursed, someone chance itself rejected. Long before anyone kept score with coins or currency, luck itself would function as status. The luckiest man in the tribe wouldn't just be rich, he would be untouchable, almost sacred, because something invisible seemed to be protecting him. Sit up for this part. If this theory holds any truth, casinos wouldn't be a modern invention wrapped in neon. They would be the newest version of something ancient and ceremonial. Strip away the slot machines and free drinks, and what's left looks eerily familiar. A circle of strangers. An object that decides fate. A rush bigger than the moment deserves. Every casino floor on Earth would be quietly performing a ritual older than written language, older than farming, older than fire itself, just wearing better lighting. Picture the losers for a moment. Losing a roll wouldn't just mean disappointment. It could mean walking toward the animal that kills, or standing guard through the loudest hours of the night. Losing would carry weight modern gamblers can barely imagine, and yet the tribe would still respect the outcome. Nobody would riot against the bone. Nobody would accuse the dirt of cheating. The randomness would feel fair, almost holy, because a decision nobody controlled couldn't be twisted by anyone's grudge. That single idea, chance is fairer than any person, might be one of the oldest pieces of justice your species ever invented. Children would learn the lesson early, without anyone explaining it out loud. A child watching adults gather around a rolled bone would absorb something powerful. Outcomes aren't always earned, and sometimes the universe simply decides. That lesson would shape how generations understood fairness and failure. You didn't fail because you were weak. You failed because the bone landed a certain way. That mental escape hatch, blaming chance instead of yourself, would become baked into human psychology so deeply that you still reach for it today. Consider the dice. A simple cube with dots seems harmless enough, but this theory argues the shape carries a memory. Long before dice were carved smooth, they would start as knuckle bones, actual joints from animals, tumbling unevenly across dirt floors. Uneven bones would mean uneven odds, and someone's fate could tilt on nothing but the shape of a dead animal's joint. Imagine believing your survival hinged on a goat's ankle. And yet, according to this theory, you would have believed it completely because belief is what makes a random object feel powerful enough to control an outcome. Here's a question worth sitting with. Why does a random roll still feel meaningful to you at all? Logically, a slot machine has no memory of you. A card doesn't know your name, yet your chest tightens anyway. This theory suggests that reaction wouldn't be irrational, it would be inherited. Somewhere back through thousands of generations, a version of you would have needed that tightening in the chest to survive a decision that truly mattered. The feeling stayed. The stakes just got smaller and safer, even though your nervous system apparently never got that update. This theory even reframes prayer and superstition through the same lens. Blowing on dice, wearing a lucky shirt, knocking on wood before a big decision, these habits wouldn't be silly modern quirks. They would be leftover survival behavior from a time when appeasing chance actually mattered, because chance could decide whether you ate tonight or starved. You are not superstitious because you're irrational. You are superstitious because somewhere in your ancestry, taking chance seriously kept people alive a little longer than the people who mocked it. This theory goes one step further and suggests entire economies would eventually grow out of that original fear of chance. Long before coins existed, tribes would trade favors, meat, and protection based on who chance had recently favored. A man on a winning streak would find it easier to borrow tools, easier to attract a mate, easier to lead a hunting party, simply because luck would look, to the ancient eye, like proof of something unseen watching over him. Money wouldn't replace luck. Money would simply become a portable way of measuring it. Every time you check a bank balance today, some ancient instinct might be quietly translating that number back into an old question. Does the universe currently favor you or not? Even the losers would keep playing. Win or lose, the roll would still feel good, still feel real, still feel like it meant something. That is the trap. That is the hook. That is why this theory says the game never really stopped. Think about how fast this spread. One tribe rolls a bone, another tribe copies it. A third adds a story to explain why the bone chose what it chose. Within a few generations, chance stops being a tool and becomes a belief system, complete with rituals, blessings, and warnings. This theory suggests that speed is the real clue. Ideas that merely help you survive spread slowly. Ideas that also feel thrilling spread instantly. Gambling would carry both. It would solve a real problem and deliver a real rush, which is exactly why, out of every ancient survival trick your ancestors invented, this might be the one that never once went out of style. So the next time dice hit a table, or cards flip face up, or a wheel slows to a stop, feel that quiet tightening in your chest. This theory suggests you're not just watching a game. You are watching the oldest surviving ritual humans ever created, one that used to decide who guards the fire and who faces the beast in the dark. The lighting changed, the velvet ropes appeared, the stakes shrank down to money instead of your own life, but the bone still rolls, and somewhere underneath your ribs, an ancient piece of you still leans forward, half convinced this next roll actually matters.